From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something that you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome into this Thursday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready. I am in the Clark Ford Studio this morning. Neal coming back from Jackson here in a bit. He had a two-night excursion to the capital city. First for our show on Tuesday night, and then last night Ole Miss knocks off Southeastern Louisiana comfortably in a game that was pretty ugly early on, but Ole Miss gets the win, covers, moves to 7-2 on the season, trying to finish out the non-conference portion of the season at 10-2. So we'll get into that. We'll get into a little bit of everything. We're going to visit with Jeffrey here in a little while, and let Jeffrey talk about whatever Jeffrey wants to talk about. You probably know where that's going, so we'll get to that here in a bit on the Patterson and Earhart hotline with Mr. Wright. But first, we'll take the podcast brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. The ribs, the daiquiris, the lunch specials that are $4.99. So many different options. Today's chicken and dressing used to be named for Neal. I don't know if it's still named for Neal or not, but either way, that's what you get for $4.99 there at the Oxford Exxon. The Speed Pass Plus app, the mobile rewards program. So many ways to save you time and money there with the Oxford Exxon. And again, the Clark Ford Studio.
Indeed, Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call the number if you are if you're thinking that you might be one day soon in the car buying position. You owe it to yourself to get a quote. Literally, make a phone call. Give Corey a couple of ideas. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's that simple. There's no haggling. There's no hassle. It's right to the bottom line. You'll get a quote, and the rest is up to you. You can use that quote as a baseline and shop it around. You're going to end up coming right back to Corey, or you can go ahead and get started on your deal with Clark Ford. You get a great Ford vehicle, great service after the sale, delivery options. Corey wants to be your truck guy. He wants to be your car guy. He'll prove it to you. 662-257-1900. Mention any of our podcasts, and you'll save $500 on the bottom line at Clark Ford.
I want to tell everybody thank you for coming out and seeing us on Tuesday night. Great time there. Appreciate the Ole Miss M Club helping out. The gorgeous Weston for hosting us again as well. You'll hear more about them later. But nonetheless, good event, good crowd. Had Kermit Davis. Appreciate his time prior to going and do some recruiting stuff. Mike Espy came over and enjoyed us or talked to us as well. We enjoyed him doing that, and then you can hear that obviously yesterday. You probably have already heard it, but either way, just wanted to give those thanks. We gave away some Dead Soxy socks. We also alerted everyone to the still ongoing Blue Delta Jeans RebelGrove.com Christmas special that runs through December the 19th, where you get $100 off a gift card for a value of a pair of jeans, and you can do that by going in the studio there in Oxford, just off the square, or info@bluedeltajeans.com to send them an email. I know some people have asked me about it. Great way to reward yourself or someone else this Christmas season. So again, thanks everybody on Tuesday. We will obviously do it again. We add some of those to the schedule throughout the year, and we appreciate all of you. More than probably people appreciated the Mississippi Coliseum last night. Ole Miss knocks off Southeastern Louisiana, Mr. McCready. Crowd was not terrible for a midweek in another place. Would have definitely been more there than would have been in Oxford with no students and no one else around for that game locally. But you got to battle the arena a little bit. And I remember 11 years ago when Ole Miss played Winthrop. For some reason, I was at that game. I think that Winthrop team was coached by Greg Marshall. There was duct tape on the rims. Was there still duct tape on the rims, or was it just everything else last night in Jackson?
I didn't see duct tape on the rims.
Yeah, we had duct tape on the rims in 2007.
That's awesome. No, they've added some lights.
LED?
I couldn't. No. Lights.
Okay.
It was dark in there. It's just not a nice facility. Bottom line.
Did you cough from the asbestos?
I got out as quickly as I could.
Okay.
In large part because I wanted to leave while there were other people leaving. It was fine. Look, they got a lot of Jackson people came out. There's a lot of talk about what the crowd was, what the crowd wasn't. The place holds 6,000. It was probably 2/3 full. It's a Wednesday night and a school night in Jackson. It was fine. They want to play. They being Kermit wants to play games in Jackson. He wants to play a game there every year. In an ideal world, you'd have a nicer arena. That's the truth. In an ideal world.
Just something as simple as what's on the coast, something that's like in Tupelo, just something functional, frankly.
Yeah, what's the one in Tupelo, the Bancorp Center?
Yeah, the Bancorp South Center.
Yeah, if you had that, if you could pick that up and drop it in Jackson, it'd be fine. It's dark out there. You have to get around all the fairground stuff, and it's just, I don't know. I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm trying to be honest. I'm not a fan of it. I don't know what advantage you get other than the kids did give Kermit and the kids a lot of credit. They came down here. They stayed at the Westin, which is a gorgeous hotel. It's a good experience for them. They went to
Batson.
Yeah, went to the Children's Hospital, which is great. It allowed the coaches to get out and do some recruiting, which is good. That's the lifeblood of any program. All of those things. It gave them all of that. Like one of the coaches was in Vicksburg Tuesday night, and they recruited kind of all day Wednesday. So that's good, and it doesn't matter. They're going to do it. They're going to keep doing it. They've already said, hey, they're going to find a team to play next year in Jackson. Just that arena is really it's dilapidated, for lack of a better term. You can tell that it was built a long time ago, and it just sits there. It doesn't have the upkeep on it is not good.
Do they still do the high school championships there?
Boy, you're asking the wrong person, but I think so.
Yeah, I thought so, but I'm not 100%. I know they moved. They moved baseball around, did some different stuff with baseball. I know softball, they've done some different things, and obviously football now is between the three D1 schools, but wasn't sure for basketball what they were doing. They should do the same thing. They should play them at the Hump and at the Pavilion.
Oh, they absolutely should. They should play the state championship games in Starkville or Oxford. No question. Yeah. No question. And the kids, that would be more memorable for the kids than playing in that place.
Of course.
Because the bowels, it's the part that the fans don't see. The bowels of that arena are it's not good.
Well, they're worse than Tad Smith.
Oh, it's not even close. That place makes Tad Smith at the end look like a cathedral.
Okay. I had to give a disclaimer yesterday on the show because obviously we recorded it at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night. So a lot of our offensive coordinator thoughts had moved on into other thoughts by the time you heard that. Some news happening kind of as the show was going on after that. It was the first time we got to talk to people was after the show, into the night, into the next morning, because we were sort of tied up. We had sound checks. We had to meet some people. We had to do some different things, and then we went on air right out of getting out of the car when we see the Longo news. Since that point, we all know that Dan Werner is not going to be the next offensive coordinator, barring some drastic change. I think this thing opens up. I think this thing allows Matt to take some time to get the right guy. I made a point on the message board in my kind of initial thoughts that you want to be as quick as possible, but you want to be as quick as possible within the realm of getting the right guy, no matter how long that takes, because this is a pertinent hire that you have to have the right person for. So whatever that takes, make that happen. And I think it's very possible that unless some lightning in a bottle hits, we could be after the early signing day when something gets decided here.
I don't think it gets done before Wednesday. I don't think there's any from everything I could gather yesterday, I don't think that Matt Luke feels a sense of urgency to do it by Wednesday. I don't think recruits' decisions are impacted other than Grant Tisdale, and you've already seen where John Rice Plumlee has said, hey, I'm not going to sign early. I'm going to wait till February. So he's going to let things play out a little, which is, look, it's a very clear sign that Ole Miss is now telling him, hey, we're going to recruit you as a quarterback. take a deep breath. Let's revisit this. So if you tell me there's a Tisdale for Plumlee trade, and that's literally the extent of the impact of this decision, I would buy it. And if that's the case, then there's no reason to rush. Take your time. Let the signing period come and go. You got other decisions to make. You absolutely have other decisions to make. Make them, and then evaluate your staff. And you can get it done around Christmas. You can get it done because there's a recruiting dead period that kicks in where you can't recruit. So you can focus on it at that point. Talk to some people. Matt knows this, and everyone's talked about it. We talked about it in the live podcast the other day. He's got one chance to get it right. So take your time and do your very best to get it right. Don't rush. There's no reason to rush.
And there's no sign that he is rushing, I don't think. I mean, I think they wanted to go ahead and get it out of the way, see what their interest in Werner was, see what Werner's interest in his was, and then if that does not work out to the best for all parties involved, then you move on and see what's going on. And that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
Carolina's going to sweeten Dan's deal, looks like.
Yeah, there's a lot there. And we wrote this the other night. Well, actually, Gamecock Central wrote it, and we sort of vouched for it. But it was true. They'd like to keep him, and they're willing to pay him. I think he makes $500 now. I think they're willing to get him to 7 or 8. They're willing to give him a multi-year deal. They like him. They'd like to hang on to him. And you made a great point yesterday, and I hope you don't mind repeating this.
No, go ahead.
Dan wants to retire in Oxford. Dan likes Oxford. His wife likes Oxford. They like Oxford a lot. That might be understating it.
Still own a home.
Still own a home. They plan to live there when he's no longer coaching football. In many ways, I get why people say, well, then you want to come back as quickly as possible. Yeah, but do you want to come back and, as we've seen, when you're not winning, fans aren't happy with you. Dan, and as you said, this is all your words. I'm not taking any credit for this. This is Chase. Dan has a great Q rating in Oxford. Really good. People like Dan. Why not just go coach at South Carolina for 2 or 3 more years? They're going to be good. Might not be great, but they're going to be good. They're not going to be bad. Will is very stable. His Q rating there is in the 70s, low 80s. They're generally happy with him. He's fine. Make a bunch of money and finish up your career, and then come back to Oxford to retire and play golf, and everybody likes you, and you can tell stories and be one of the guys and walk 18 every day. I mean, you know what I mean? As opposed to coming here and maybe you're part of a struggle a year or two, or, let's keep it real. I mean, coaches are hired to get fired. Maybe you're part of a staff that doesn't get it turned around and you get fired from Ole Miss again. And then you want to live here, but people remember you as, well, what happened in 19 and how come y'all couldn't, all that stuff. He gets to avoid all that by staying at South Carolina, getting more money. I don't think the title and all that stuff really matters to him from talking to people at South Carolina. They say he's happy there. And that's the thing, I mean, Oxford's great and he loves Oxford. But when you make $800,000, you could love Columbia for a couple of years too.
Yeah, it's going to be all right. You're going to avoid the bad parts, I have a feeling.
Yeah, I mean,
good chance of that.
I just,
and it's not, again, like you said, it's not changing any of his master plan if we're right about what we think that is.
No, I mean, everybody there at Carolina thinks he wants to coach about 3 more years.
I think Dan's 58, if I'm guessing that right, something like that.
Yeah, so, coaches 3-4 years, gets into his early 60s, socks a bunch of money back, comes back to Oxford and retires. And maybe he does some analyst work or something. I don't know. Whatever. I just don't know that coming back to Ole Miss was as appealing to him as we all thought it would be. And I don't know that some people at Ole Miss viewed it as, would that hire, if they made that hire, would that hire be viewed as a retread hire? Would it get a collective eye roll? We'll never know the answer because I don't think it's going to happen. But I gather that it just wasn't the slam dunk that we all assumed it would be. It just shows you that Coach Bartlett was right back in the mid 80s when he told the junior varsity Bearcats, when he told us about we were defending the option, Chase, and he said, you can't assume that the quarterback is going to pitch the ball. Because do you know what happens, Chase, when you assume?
I have heard this from many coaches throughout the years.
It makes an ass out of you and me. So there you go. We assumed that it would be a slam dunk, that Matt Luke would want to hire Dan Warner and that Dan Warner would want to return to Ole Miss. And it made an ass out of you and me. There you go.
It's fair. It's fair. So.
It is. Sometimes you just got to admit you were wrong. We and a lot of other people were wrong.
So we'll see where it goes. I don't know, frankly, right now. It's a good question, and we'll cover it as we can. So
I have a feeling that he has a general feel for the direction he wants to go, and if you made me guess, I'd guess he has 3 to 4 kind of names in mind, people that he wants to talk to, and he needs to get through the early signing period, and then he can go about doing that. That's my guess.
I think that's a good guess. Feel confident in that guess.
I don't think it's just some blind throw a net out and see what you catch.
No, there was a little bit of public perception or something that he didn't have a plan just because of the early Werner stuff. But no, I think he's had a complete plan this whole time. I think there has been the list in the desk, and again, this offers him the ability to go through it a little bit now. As there isn't some time frame that's on him as some bomb that he has to get done by Wednesday or Monday or really any date moving forward right now.
And you know what else, Chase, before we go to a break, I want to give him credit for this. And I know being a good guy isn't going to save his job, nor should it. You're in the score. I'm on record for a long time. You're in the scoreboard business. Your job is to score more points than the other team scores points. That's your job. That is how you are judged. That is how you are viewed, and that's the way it is. But the hope was one of two things. The hope was that Phil Longo would land a head coaching job very quickly after the Egg Bowl and create an opening that they could fill quickly. Or that Phil Longo would stay through the early signing period, not disrupt things, and then they'd figure out what the hell they were going to do from there. It is my understanding that when Phil Longo got the overtures from North Carolina, which North Carolina is not going to pay him apparently what Ole Miss was paying him, that Longo asked, hey, am I good? Like, completely good. And give Matt Luke credit. I think he told him the truth. Told him you should take that job. You should take that job. And that disrupted recruiting a little, but it was the right thing to do by Phil Longo, who, for all the angst and the stuff that he gets from people, and I get it, because again, scoreboard business. You're not hired to be a good guy. You're hired to put the ball in the damned end zone. I get it. But Phil Longo did nothing that I think I said this on the live podcast, but I might have had a couple of bourbons in me by then. All he did was took a job that Hugh Freeze offered him and did it exactly the way that he said he would do it. That's all he did.
It's fair. It's true.
And give Matt credit for being honest with him and saying, yeah, this is going to disrupt something in recruiting, but you should do this. You've got, I think he has twins on the way. I never got to know Phil Longo. I really, in 2 years, never had a conversation with him that was not press conference oriented, which may be on me. I don't know. I don't think he ever really trusted me. But I don't know anything bad about the guy. I wish him nothing but the best.
We're going to go to Jeffrey in 1 second on the Patterson-Earhart hotline. As I told you in the opening, Jeffrey shows up every single Thursday like clockwork. Today we let him pick the topic for the first half or so of the conversation, and you probably know where that's headed. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to get into some coordinator stuff and whatnot with Jeffrey as well. He actually has some pretty astute points on the offensive coordinator search and then what Mike McIntyre brings to Ole Miss. So all that coming up in a pretty lengthy interview with Jeffrey Wright in 1 second.
This podcast is brought to you by one of our new sponsors, the Blow Dry Bar in Oxford, Mississippi. Guys, if you're searching for an outside-the-box Christmas, anniversary, or birthday present to any female in your life, this place has your answers. They were voted Best New Business in Oxford in 2018, and they will not disappoint. They have many packages they can put together for women in your life, so give them a call, 662-638-3310. There's a Rebel Grover podcast discount if you tell them about us, and the reason that you are there is, so again, 662-638-3310. Also experience all things Oxford in a week during the 3rd annual Pop-Up Oxford. It's going to be January 19th through 27th. Experience a week-long celebration of Oxford's rich cultural scene of food, art, lectures, and musical performances, Ole Miss basketball, and more during that time period. Again, January 19th through 27th. Also, don't miss the 9th annual Fiber Arts Festival during Pop-Up Oxford. That's going to be January 24th through 27th. The festival features receptions, lecture, demonstrations, children's activities, and classes. Special events during the Pop-Up Oxford include songwriters competitions, Hotel Hop, Art Crawl, Thacker Mountain Radio Hour, MLK Day, featured events, and more. So be sure to go ahead and check out the website at popupoxfordms.com. Also, the podcast is brought to you in part by Community Mortgage, located in Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga, one of the older mortgage companies in the Southeast. Our underwriting and processing is done in Memphis, so you're getting local underwriting that understands your market, a leader in condo financing and the float-down option. You can find Jason Lowe at 662-234-2704 or J-Lowe, that's J-L-O-W-E, at communitymtg.com. Also, don't waste your time at the big chains, the big pharmacy chains. Go somewhere where you're appreciated. That's G&M Pharmacy. They're a locally owned and operated, and they care about their customers. They've been Oxford's trusted hometown pharmacy for 40 years and offer many great services such as MedSync, immunizations, free delivery to your home or workplace, and much more. They're conveniently located right off South Lamar Boulevard here in Oxford. They can transfer your medications easily, so just give them a call at 662-236-2222, and they will take care of the rest. And then last but not least, with Christmas around the corner, Mastercuts is ready to keep your home looking up to par this holiday season. So many different ways to transform your house into a festive staple of the neighborhood, lighting and garland, inflatable characters. Whatever your vision may be, Mastercuts will help design a custom display unique to your home. And the best part is all the decorations you pay for, you'll own them. They'll store them to the next year, or you can store them yourself. That decision is yours. So start that tradition today with Mastercuts. Get a free quote, 662-607-7773.
Jeffrey, good morning. Haven't talked to you, I've talked to you, but not on the air in a week or so, and have not spoken to you since Hugh Freeze took the head job at Liberty. Just from a content perspective, just from a media perspective, you kind of got that perfect deal, didn't you, where you got the press conference, you got all the reaction going on, and you went straight to the radio because you were doing the Hasseltine show, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I felt like Cartman just running out when he found out the trademark for the Washington Redskins had been pulled by the court, and so their new startup company could use the name Washington Redskins so they could have some name recognition. Like, I felt like Cartman running through the streets. You guys. It was so perfect. And it's why at the end of the day, you can bet on him getting back to SEC football, and I'll take the over, because his flaws are not addressed And if he's not addressed them after everything he's been through, it's not changing.
Let's start there a little bit because he's probably going to win at Liberty. Why not? Sure, whatever.
Are we sure?
Do what?
Are we sure?
Well, under my hypothesis, he is. So go with me. What's his next gig? Who's willing to take that next chance after he takes Liberty to a couple 9-3 seasons?
I don't know, because, man, he's going to do that, and it's going to be like if you thought the preaching was a little much at Ole Miss, it's only going to be worse here.
I'm telling you guys, as long as Greg Sankey's in the SEC, he's not getting an SEC job. Tennessee actually was very interested in hiring him. Something stopped it cold. Nick Saban typically gets what Nick Saban wants. And Nick Saban is,
okay,
is
wait,
not.
wait, I want to clarify here. This is what drives me insane. This is another thing about him. He interviewed for the analyst job. He was not offered the offensive coordinator job, and yet he continued to perpetuate that myth and let that one run.
He did, but my point is that there were all these openings, including the one at Auburn, where he and Gus at least have an acquaintanceship. I have told from people at Auburn that friendship is way overrated. It's way overstated, that it's not the friendship that it's portrayed to be, but that they're friendly and that they're acquaintances. And Hugh would have reason to go to Auburn as a child there. It didn't happen. Now, the Florida State interview, I'm told, just simply did not go well. Willie Taggart was not impressed with Hugh Freeze. My opinion is that Hugh Freeze took the Liberty job, not because it was a head coaching job, because it was the only job he could get. And kudos to Jimmy Sexton. He told Hugh to get the hell off Twitter and chill out and stay cool this fall. And for the most part, he did. And he got the Liberty gig and 7-figure job. I don't make 7 figures, so kudos to him. And it's an opportunity. But everyone's doing this deal. Like Adam Gorney and the Rivals people sent something to me about Hugh Freeze the other day, and it was looking for an answer, and I gave it to him. But everyone's kind of building this narrative. Okay, well, this is going to be this 2-year stop. I think it's more likely this is a long-term stop.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to bet that he's back in major college football, go ahead. I'll take the other side.
Because of what people don't want with him associated with their programs, yeah, it's the Liberty is the best place for him currently and the worst place for him to try to get out and move forward, all at the same time, wrapped up in one.
He didn't take the Liberty job because he wanted to be a head coach. He took the Liberty job because it was the only job that was offered to him. And as Neil pointed out, 7-figure gig. It's a good gig. Congratulations.
Sure. I'll be honest, it's a better gig than I thought he was ever going to get again, because there's something in those. Look, it's like the guy in Memphis, and I'm sure you're dealing with this and probably very frustrated in the way that you have to nuance it.
Yes.
There's a reason that Mike Norvell can't get one of these jobs
that he desperately wants.
Yes. There's a reason that Hugh Freeze, who did a lot of good things offensively as a coach at Ole Miss, undeniable, beat Alabama twice, all the stuff we talked about. There's a reason that he can't get on an SEC staff. There's a reason, and it keeps popping up, because whenever somebody did their homework, and they all did, I know Phil Fulmer did his homework on Hugh Freeze, and that was the end of it.
Yes, I mean that's he did not. Hugh is very good, and this is what when everyone kept freaking out around me saying, "See, Hugh's going to get one of these gigs. He's going to get one of these gigs." I said, "I'm not betting on it." And here's why I'm not betting on it. Every single one of these reports is coming from someone that is friendly to Hugh, and every single one of them is coming from Hugh. And Hugh is great at spinning his own narrative.
Well, he's got a couple of ESPN guys that will basically parrot whatever he says.
Sure.
And he's not alone in this. There are lots of.
I've never once said that he's the only coach that's ever done that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not defending. I'm just pointing it out. I mean, he's not the only guy that has media. I mean, Malzahn has one. When Malzahn wants to get something out, he typically goes to George Schroeder at CBS.
Sure.
There are people that use Dennis Dodd because he's desperate for approval. And then there are people that are just nice guys in the field. And so oftentimes when I see something about Hugh Freeze from Chris Lowe, for example, it's Hugh told Chris. Yes. And Chris is as good a guy as you'll meet in the business. So I'm not making fun of anybody, but that's just kind of how it works. And he floated his name out there. I'll give him credit. For the most part this fall, he chilled on all that Twitter stuff. And he just kept a fairly low profile. And he wanted to get back in. And he let Jimmy do his job. And he got back in. And I think, I mean, if you told me that in 5 years they won 48 games in 5 years at Liberty and that a Utah State type program took a flyer on him, I'd buy it. I don't think he's ever an SEC head coach again.
Yeah. The only thing that I could even think of is like, okay, maybe Matt Rule does a good job at Baylor and then Baylor wants to get back into the religious thing.
Ooh, yeah. Maybe, but there's a lot of people there that really like Rule because of the way that Rule has, pardon the pun, sort of ruled that program. He is very disciplined, very organized. They
say Matt wins and goes somewhere else. Like I don't think Matt Rule's looking at Baylor as.
No, but I think they would be more inclined to go look for the next Matt Rule than they would to go look for the next Art Briles.
Yeah, I mean like that. So I don't know. Like I don't know what his next gig is, even if he wins. I really don't.
Was it even a topic in Memphis? Did anyone give a crap?
Yeah, I mean, you had a coach that got fired for escorts saying the only person who can handle his junk is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So, on a Friday afternoon where there's not a ton going on, you can't really ignore a line like that.
It's fair. It's probably fair.
I mean, that's what it is. And so this all inspires me. And I thought now that Hugh is officially out of Oxford, now that Chase no longer has to worry about things being awkward with Hugh if he wants to go play him a little golf, I thought we should. I
feel like you're taking shots here. I feel shots coming across for some reason. Like I feel like we should. Got a little pain in my shoulder, Jeffrey.
Listen, this man did a lot of great things. He won, as he told us, Sugar Bowls at Ole Miss. He's won not one, but he's won multiple apparently. I just thought we should go through like Hugh's greatest hits and just go a little round table style and name some of our favorite things that Hugh did during his tenure here at Ole Miss. And, I figured I'd start off. How about let's just start off with something simple as tucking in his pullovers. I thought that's a good look.
I thought you were going to lead with back-to-back wins over Alabama, personally.
We'll get there. Come on, don't worry. It's on the list.
I'm blown away.
He tucked in. I don't remember that. He tucked in his pullovers?
Yeah, he tucked in his pullovers.
The white windbreaker that best part. He does it. He did it on the recruiting trail with the Liberty pullover.
Was that a pullover? I saw that photo. Was it a pullover?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why would you do that?
He's Independence, Mississippi.
To look thinner?
Well, you wouldn't look thinner because those pullovers are kind of bulky. You'd be adding
if you want to look
weight.
Thinner, you just leave it untucked.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we told the story. Throwing Bo Wallace under the bus with Neal might be the quintessential for awkward moments.
Ooh, how about this one? When he told everyone off the record his team would be better, his defense would be better without Robert Condici. That was a good one.
The two that come to mind for me, it probably shows you that I think about media a lot more than I probably should. The two that come to mind for me are the day that he hired Longo and McGriff, and we had that press conference with the speakerphone.
Teleconference.
Yeah. But we were all gathered around that speakerphone.
Yeah, to set the scene for everybody, they've got Longo and McGriff going back-to-back just with the little speaker in the middle of the room, and we're all just crowded around the podium, just standing around it like somebody's actually behind it.
And Freeze, instead of either leaving the room or just sitting down, is like walking around telling people what to ask. It was super uncomfortable. And then the other one that comes to mind is the first time I guess Chad Kelly had gotten injured, and they had made the call that they were taking the red shirt off of Shea Patterson, and he was going to start in College Station that Saturday. And so on, I guess it was Monday, or Tuesday, one or the other, they let Shea be available to the media for the first time. And Freeze gives us like this primer on how to interview the kid. And we're like, this kid has been a prospect since minimum the 8th grade. This kid has done hundreds, if not thousands, of interviews and is very media savvy. Stop. And even then he hovered around the interview while it happened. It was just what I will remember about him from a media standpoint was the control freak stuff. And then the other thing that I will remember about with Freeze was that first spring. Chase, you know where I'm going.
Yeah. I was covering a game at Alabama because you called me and filled me in on this from while I was sitting in the press box.
We finished. It had to be his, I don't know, 3rd, 4th practice of the spring. And it was a Saturday. And we're doing the interviews out on the practice field. And they bring out, as he's finishing his media op with us, which was your standard post-practice media op. As he's finishing that, one of the people brought out this big, and I mean big, cardboard box full of Ole Miss gear. And Freeze made some comment along the lines of, if you guys are going to be out here, you might as well look good. And he meant it, I think, to be funny, but it's all this Ole Miss gear. And like David Brandt and I and a couple others people, we just sort of cringed, like, oh God, couldn't believe it happened. And now there were people that grabbed gear by the handfuls. But
in fairness, some of those people, they were too busy not paying people that worked for them, so they had to grab what they could.
The podcast is also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX legacy realty agent. He's been in Oxford more than 4 decades. No one knows the residential and condo market in Oxford better than Harry. Go to his site. He'll prove it to you. HarryAlexander.com. Click on the Properties and Neighborhoods tab. Filter through by what you are looking for. Then send him an email. It's ha@harryalexander.com. Podcast also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB. Locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives you the comfort of home, all the benefits the big mega banks provide, all the technology and products you can want, all with a personal touch when you call OUB. You speak directly with a live person, all without having to press 10 buttons and without a 5-minute wait. OUB offers you Kasasa. It's with Kasasa, OUB will pay customers 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000. And with Kasasa, ATM fees nationwide are refunded. OUB also has a commercial checking account that is now paying 1% interest as long as you keep $10,000 in the account, and it comes with fully interactive online banking. OUB will deposit your checks from their office and not have to worry about coming to the bank daily to deposit checks. And it's more than likely that any business owners in another bank is now paying a monthly fee for their account, and they're most likely assuredly not making 1% on their money. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. And the podcast brought to you by Megan Phillips with LAH Real Estate. She's the person to call for all your real estate needs in the Birmingham, Alabama area. With almost a decade of experience, Megan's knowledge and expertise can help you buy or sell your home today. So visit her website, meganmphillips.com. That's MEAGANMphillips.com. Or call Megan at 205-602-7929. Again, 205-602-7929.
That is true. So that's
I'm one of the people.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget that. I'll always forget about that version of Jeffrey Wright back in town.
So when you do talk radio, you expect to get paid?
Well, yeah, especially when we had an agreed upon contract.
Oh, so if you agree to a rate,
yeah,
and then you do the work,
yes,
you still expect the person who agreed to pay you to do the work to actually pay you.
Yes, that's in general how I operate.
Well, what if what they did instead was fire you, not pay you, and then hire somebody else to come in and do the work and not get paid? Does that change it?
No, I mean, that just sounds like at least there's a pattern developing.
Okay, I just was curious. I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah.
He's going to be one of the more polarizing people for, frankly, decades here. And so much of it, I mean, he obviously has the wins and whatever, but you and I talked about this, might have been on air a couple days ago, I don't know, everything's running together this week because of the travel and everything else, is there's such the benefit to his tenure for it being a Sugar Bowl. For the rotation allowing it to be a Sugar Bowl in 2015 versus a Cotton Bowl or an Orange Bowl or another Peach Bowl or whatever else is in the CFP. I mean, that allowed for the sentimentality to be so much higher because it was in New Orleans and was a Sugar Bowl that year.
Yes, it was an Outback Bowl played in New Orleans under the title Sugar Bowl. And before everyone gets mad and says, I'm just trying to diminish Hugh Freeze, it is the second Sugar Bowl played since World War II that did not include a top 10 team. The reason why they played in that bowl game is because of conference tie-ins. It wasn't earning their way back to the Sugar Bowl. And really the biggest reason they played in the game is because Florida had to go and play Alabama again and get their ass kicked in the championship game.
Yeah, it was the highest-ranked SEC team not in the playoff. In the college football rankings or whatever it is.
He's also very, very lucky. So this is what I also don't get. Why does 2016 get dismissed so quickly? And then on top of that, he's also lucky that he didn't actually have to coach the team in 2017, a team that was already out on him. If he would have had to coach that team, he would have had to go through 3-9, 4-8.
Probably fair. Thinking back, I think Matt got 1 to 2 that he wouldn't have gotten.
There's no bigger
Kentucky and State. Freeze wasn't beating Kentucky and State.
Other than the money, and I don't realize that's along the lines of, well, besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? I realize that's a statement of that regard.
Right.
But other than the money, getting to leave and not have the 2017 season hung on him is probably the reason that he's the coach at Liberty today.
I think it's fair. Overall record still pretty good from an on-field standpoint.
Right. His record looks good. If you had made him endure 2017 and not just the wins and the losses, but what is, I think we all agree, that team was going to quit on him. That
team was re-energized when he was removed.
Yes. That team did not quit on Matt Luke. It did not quit on Matt Luke. As flawed as it was, it played hard for Matt Luke. It played hard for Phil Longo, and it played hard for Wesley McGriff and that coaching staff. It absolutely did. I don't think it would have for Freeze. And so that would have been.
Well, if history's any indicator, no team quit in a game like a Hugh Freeze team.
Well, and that team might have quit early in the year.
That's what I'm saying. So
that was an off season that was kind of full of angst. There was stuff happening, and
that team would have quit at halftime of Auburn.
Yeah, that second half wouldn't have been the same deal, where we laughed at Matt at the time, not at Matt, but kind of at what he was saying.
Right.
When he was like, this is going to be a turning point. We're like, yeah, right. And it turned out it kind of was. I mean, they played better from that point forward. Something did happen in that locker room that changed the season a little bit. So yeah, I agree. I don't think Hugh would have been able to engineer a turning point in that season.
Watching from near, Jeffrey, what were your kind of thoughts on the way the defensive coordinator search played out, and now what Ole Miss needs from an OC perspective?
2 more before I get to
Okay.
my thoughts on the return of Mike McIntyre. Number 1.
Why do I feel like you wrote these down?
Because I have my list here.
Okay.
Underrated one. Leaking out Phil Longo when James Madison was playing on Friday night in the semifinal game because he thought they were going to put up all these numbers and then it was going to, be like a big rallying, like a victory parade, if you will, in the semifinals of the FCS game. And then James Madison didn't score until I believe the fourth quarter in like a 38-7 blowout.
Other way around. James Madison beat the crap out of Sam Houston State.
Yeah, Sam Houston State. So there you go.
Think he leaked that day? Because I don't.
I do.
Okay.
Do what now, Neil?
Wait,
I don't think Freeze leaked that.
Really?
Well, we broke it, and it was because of a travel thing in Texas that kind of went 2 and 2 and 2.
See, here's where I also think he leaked it. Some other people that were told they had it independently of y'all having it, and it wasn't reported. It was y'all might want to watch the Sam Houston State game tonight.
I will say, though, that did get the whole thing started in a really weird thing, because I want to say I was at a Christmas party or something that night, and it was terrible. It was a morgue around the place as they're watching this game going, hang on, that's the guy they just hired? This dude? Can't score on James Madison? Like, it was rough. It was really, really, really rough that night.
Another underrated one. In 2015, he claimed that he spent more time working with the defense against Auburn and that was going to be his new focus, was helping out that defense. And then the next week when they gave up 53 to Arkansas in the double overtime loss, he said that he didn't spend any time with the defense that week. He just worked primarily with the offense.
You can only do so many things.
Right.
You can only
on that offense that week.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to put your focus somewhere.
Very, very underrated one. Also, another one of his ones about everyone that tells me what a good man he is. There was a young man that he turned into a photo opportunity, and he had one of the greatest days of his life hanging out with Chad Kelly, and Hugh turned it into a photo op and told us all that the young man had cancer, and there was nothing more that doctors could do for him. Well, Hugh spent so much time with the young man that Dylan, who wrote the story, the young man's mother had to call Dylan independently and make sure that Dylan understood that this young man had cystic fibrosis and not cancer. But Hugh didn't know that, even though he still managed to turn him into a photo op.
You're going to hate watch every Liberty game, aren't you?
No, because that's going to be way too much effort. Okay. I already know how the story ends.
You watch a lot of bad football, Jeffrey. What's the difference?
I don't watch that kind of bad football.
Okay.
How does the story end, in your opinion?
I think he's about to get exposed for his actual coaching.
But how good is the coaching in the league? That I know they're not in a league, but in the
that's the problem. He doesn't have a league. He doesn't have a league where he can kind of gimmick his way to wins. There is no league. I don't see Liberty appealing to any of these conferences because of some of the ways that the university is run.
Yeah, well, the university is because of the Falwell thing and some of the stuff with even kind of how it's loosely connected to Trump a little bit with the endorsement of, was it Falwell's son? The university is kind of toxic right now.
Yes, so I don't see them getting in a conference, and he's never been a great talent identifier. So, I mean, I guess it's conceivable if he puts together some kind of network and when he starts getting the best of the lower level players, but man, I don't know.
Has he made any coordinator hires yet?
He's not hired a single person yet. Is that not weird to y'all?
That is weird because I know he's reached out to a lot of people.
I thought the time frame's a little strange. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know who he's waiting on. I have no idea. But
anyway. I mean, we heard for a while he reached out to a lot of people inside the Ole Miss building, like some of the staffers, not the on-field people, but
yeah, I know
some of the younger people and stuff. And look, there's a lot of angst in that building towards Hugh Freeze. There's a lot, and I I'll be curious to see who he hires. I know Ole Miss people are hoping that he hires Marty Harris. I don't know whether he will or won't. I kind of doubt it. I'll be curious. I mean, if you're a young coach,
another good one when he threw Tom, Tom, the coach at Indiana,
Tom Allen.
When he threw Tom Allen under the bus for the defensive problems in 2014, Tom went and took the Indiana gig, and then when he was going to make his coordinator hire in 2016, him being the one that was trying to promote Tom Allen for the gig.
They did lead the nation in scoring defense in 2014.
Yeah, and then Dave Womack throwing Dave Womack under the bus. Ooh, underrated one's throwing Dan Werner under the bus for the offense. That was a good one. Here's a fun one. The time that he blamed a question at the NFL draft on my mentor, a question that was asked by a reporter from CBS Sports, and then my mentor gave the opportunity to a player to walk back the statement, and the player chose not to walk it back, but just to keep walking all over Hugh Freeze. And then he continued, even after knowing for a fact it wasn't true, perpetuating a lie for years against my mentor. That was a fun one.
I don't get credit enough for giving Laramie
the chance to walk it back.
Hey, here's a lifeline. What are those things called when you throw the guys overboard? You throw it over
life
the
preserver.
Ship. Yeah, life preserver. I gave him. I gave him one. A life raft. I gave him one. He he chose to let it go right by him.
Jeffrey, has there been anything in your life you wanted to do less than when Neil and I mildly urged you to walk up to Laramie Tunzel and Jimmy Sexton's table in second line that day?
No. It's literally, I felt so dirty. And I told Chase to go do it.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
I thought you were a Beacon jersey. Underrated one was anytime he was trying to sell one of his really bad ideas, he would say, so-and-so came and saw me in my office and we talked it out. I asked two players if they ever went and saw him in his office right after that. They both said, no. Where did you hear that? I said, well, Hugh Freeze said it. So anytime he wanted to lie and spin a bad idea, he'd say that so-and-so came and saw me in his office. That was a great one.
I admire your consistency here more than anything else. I'm
not taking a single field goal against Alabama in 2013, a game that went to the half 9-0. Don't forget those Treadwell passes. Those worked well. This was a good one. His coaching genius of putting a defensive tackle in at goal line quarterback. That was a smart play. When he had the number one throwing quarterback in the SEC. Really good decision there. This one doesn't get enough credit. You mentioned blaming Bo Wallace, but what about blaming Dante Moncrief in a game in which he had like 176 yards of offense against Auburn in 2013?
I don't remember that.
Oh, you weren't at that. That was me and Neil.
Okay.
He said if Dante would have caught more balls, then the game would have been different.
Guests join our podcast on the Patterson and Earhart hotline. Patterson and Earhart, attorneys at law, specialize in personal injury law and real estate law, but theirs is a general practice that can handle any of your legal needs. When you contact Patterson and Earhart, you speak to one of the partners in the firm, and that's who will handle your case, not some paralegal at a faceless corporate firm. If Patterson and Earhart can't help you, they'll refer you to someone who can. John Calvin Patterson and Wes Earhart are Ole Miss guys. They're local guys. And when you call them, you're going to get one of them on the phone within the same day, guaranteed. So whether you've been injured in a car wreck or have other legal issues, give them a call, 662-526-1992, or check out their website, pelaws.com. Your initial consultation is free. The podcast is also brought to you by Home 2 Suites in Oxford. Home 2 Suites, South Lamar Court in Oxford, is open and ready to accommodate your personal or business needs just in time for the holidays. Located at 101 South Lamar Court in Oxford at the intersection of Belt Boulevard and South Lamar Avenue, this Hilton property is locally owned and operated by Ole Miss alumni and is just 1 mile from campus and 1.5 miles from the square. Each spacious suite has a living area with a sleeper sofa and a fully equipped kitchen. Guests have access to a complimentary breakfast each morning with more than 400 combinations to suit any palate, a fully equipped fitness center, a free laundry facility, free Wi-Fi, free parking, and much, much more. Guests will enjoy custom decorated interiors with artwork by local artists throughout the hotel, displaying the beauty and charm of Oxford and Ole Miss. After a long day, guests can grab a blanket, head to the front patio to cozy up around the fire pit, surrounded by outdoor couches, or enjoy the outdoor saltwater pool and patio area, complete with 2 gas grills and draped in bistro lights for those warmer days and nights that you just don't want to end. Extended stay rates are available, and Hilton Honors points can be earned for stays and redeemed for bookings. In addition, the 625 square foot meeting room is available for rentals and comes with all you need for the perfect boardroom meeting, classroom style presentation, or catered meal. For more information, call 662-238-3400 or visit home2oxford.home2suitesbyhilton.com. Home to Suites Oxford is on Twitter at home2oxfordms and on Instagram at home2suitesoxfordms. Home to Suites Oxford. We are your home too. My post-game columns in this podcast also sponsored by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust is based in Madison, Mississippi, represents clients in 24 states, has advisors in 3 states. It's founded in 1997. Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity, and decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. Regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan. Cookie-cutter financial planners put you in a box. At Pinnacle Trust, that box is built just for you. To learn more about Pinnacle Trust, go to pintrust.com. That's PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast, and you'll get 10% off your first year's fee.
So, Mike McIntyre, Jeffrey, before we lose you.
Overall, I felt like McIntyre was a safer hire than Pete Golding. I understand all of the cachet that comes with Pete Golding. Pete Golding would have been a sexy hire for several reasons. Number one, it would have felt like you took a coordinator from Alabama, and that would have been quite the statement to make. Like, I understand that. And then there was the thought that it would bring you some cachet on the recruiting trail. But I've seen a lot of coaches and a lot of assistants have a lot of success recruiting at Alabama. And then when they have to go to other places, I've seen them not have the same success rate. I wonder why that is. So,
it's funny. I think the more that I hear and the more that I talk to people, I think Matt Luke preferred Mike McIntyre over Pete Golding.
But I also understand the reasons for Golding, and
sure,
underrated reason for Golding is it would have bought them a little more time, I think. And I actually think Mike McIntyre is a very good talent identifier. I think Mike McIntyre has a pretty decent track record at maximizing whatever he has. And so I do think that's going to be a very a skill that is needed with this Ole Miss defense. The difference, though, for me between Mike McIntyre and Pete Golding is I don't know if Mike McIntyre buys you any of maybe the extra time, because now I don't know how this offensive coordinator search is going to go, but I know how it's going right now.
If you were Matt Luke, what would you look for in an offensive coordinator right now? What would you do?
I said it on the message board, and I mean it. And this isn't entirely a dig at Freeze. This is like a philosophy thing. My first question would be, If you have Laramie Tunsil or if you have Greg Little as your left tackle, would you ever move your tight end or your running back to help Greg Little or to help Laramie Tunsil while leaving your right tackle, who is an average SEC lineman at best, exposed one-on-one just so you could go fast? If the answer is anything other than no, then that candidate is eliminated. If I were looking for the best hire, honestly, like, I would do often kind of what the NFL's doing with, they go to Andy Reid and they ask him, who's your best guy? Like, we can't get Andy Reid, but Andy Reid is the best offensive mind probably in the NFL overall. I know McVay gets all the credit, but Andy Reid's got a hell of a track record of running offenses. For all the jokes about the way he manages the clock, I don't think you can really joke about his offensive production. Like, I've always wanted to know what Andy Reid would look like with an elite quarterback, and we see what it is, and he has statistically one of the best offenses of all time. That's
a good point.
I would look at, and then we saw Doug Peterson's had some pretty good success. John DeFilippo, that was a marriage that was never going to work with him and Zimmer. But I'd look to guys that have the reputation of being super creative. I thought Dan Enos would have been a really good fit, and now we're starting to see why Dan Enos' name was never even mentioned for the Ole Miss job, because they knew Loxley was moving on and Enos was then going to take over the Alabama job. But I like guys that I don't necessarily believe in balance. Like, I don't actually think some of the concepts Longo ran were bad. I just think that he was so, like, he never used crossing routes. He never used mesh routes. He never got the screen game really all that involved with backs when guys were just pinning their ears back and coming after their quarterback. I mean, like, in general, I'm not opposed to, like, the air raid. Like, in general, I think the air raid, like, Ole Miss found the only person that comes from the air raid school that doesn't have mesh routes involved, where you cross the two inside receivers that give easy completions and oftentimes results in big plays considering everyone else is down the field. I'd look for guys that have consistently, honestly, man, I'd look for somebody like Mullen, somebody that spreads the field, runs the NFL type offense, but runs it from the shotgun, somebody that consistently has produced points with inferior talent in a good league. Honestly, it's why I didn't think going after Dan or going after anyone involved with South Carolina was a bad move. South Carolina was, I believe, like the number 3 or number 4 scoring offense in SEC play this year. I'd kind of look to those kinds of people.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, I think I buy all that. I mean,
I'm not in this. I think my second question would be, how do you feel about the RPO? And if someone says it's the base of his offense, I'm really hesitant. I think the RPO can be a part of your playbook, but when you base your entire offense around it, it supposes that numbers are equal. And what I mean by that is it supposes that my 11 players are equal to your 11 players. And that's part of the reason why Ole Miss, even under Freeze, whenever they would go up against better talent, not only would they not even remotely get close to their average, they would get shut down.
That is a good point, because it was merely, I mean, this is a simplistic version of it, but it was counting heads, and then you're running or throwing, and you're just allowing the defense to dictate your plays. I mean, if they know you're so RPO heavy, they simply can add and subtract from the box to dictate your play call.
Right, and they can force you into doing what they want you to do. And the one advantage that offense has over the defense is they're supposed to adjust to you. And so by going so RPO heavy, like, there are times where I think the RPO should be a very useful part of your offense. It gives you the option to not let the defense just kind of pin their ears back, and you make them play a little more honestly. when you make it the entire point of your offense, it's just you're taking away the advantage that you have. I don't mind tempo and whatnot. Like, I'm not saying like all these concepts are bad. I would like to see someone who has called a dig route against cover 2 at some point in his career. I think that would be a welcomed addition. I would also like to see someone whose offense adjusts routes for coverage. I would look for someone that doesn't think. I mean, really, I think that would be probably the premise of the premise that you make there, Chase. I'm looking for someone who's not going to let the defense dictate to him. I'm looking for someone who dictates to the defense.
I asked Neil yesterday, 3 weeks to go, how would you pick your NFL MVP at this point?
I mean, I'm going Breeze, and I understand all the Mahomes hoopla, but Breeze, like, I think the NFC right now is tougher than the AFC, and I think Breeze, like, I'm not saying it should be a lifetime achievement award, but the fact that Drew Brees has never won an MVP is absurd to me.
It's incredible, really, when you think about it, because his numbers are unreal.
Well, I think it's like there's like, I think 6 times out of 10 he's led the NFL. Like, he's led the NFL in completion percentage, and every single year he set a record for yards per attempt in that completion percentage. So, like, progressively, he was throwing the ball farther and farther and still completing at the highest rate in NFL history.
Yeah, he has the all-time record for completion percentage last year. Is breaking it this year. I think he's also got maybe the most 5,000-yard seasons. I mean, it is fairly phenomenal. And now, some of the reasons for that is that he put up some numbers in some seasons where they kind of sucked defensively and they couldn't sustain anything as a team, and you're not going to win the MVP award when that happens. But
it will be fascinating to see if Breeze is going to get penalized, kind of like Tua did, where Breeze was so good and he's kind of had, or at least his last 2 games have been very pedestrian. Are those pedestrian games, and the fact that Mahomes, even though Mahomes was pedestrian for 3 quarters, the 2 plays that he made in the 4th quarter are like that throw. The throw that, first off, he completed a no-look pass, which is just mind-blowing. And then that play that he made to Tyreek Hill on 4th down to keep the game alive, it's just, it makes you wonder, is Breeze going to get kind of penalized for recency bias?
Well, I mean, I told Neil, I think this week's kind of that tiebreaker week in a lot of ways because they both have independent games. You've got Chiefs, Chargers tonight, and then you've got Saints, Panthers on Monday night. So they're both going to have everybody watching by themselves one time this week before they move into week 16 next week.
I can buy that.
Yeah, sounds fair. All right, what are you doing today, Jeff?
Last thing before you go, real quick, last thing. I'm just curious because I know you see a lot of NBA. The Warriors now on pace to be a 54-win team, which is still really good, but it's nowhere close to what people thought this team would be. Are you starting to buy the possibility that they're human, or do you think this is just they're just going through the motions?
How many games do they had where their 4 best players have played together?
Not a lot.
And to me, that's the answer. Like, I think once they get, I definitely think they have some problems, but I also think that people don't realize, like, there's drama almost in every single NBA locker room. I mean, you hear constantly people that cover teams, like, when guys go into the locker room at halftime, like, the first thing they do is get on their phone and they're checking Twitter. Like, this happens everywhere. Like, it's just kind of a drama-filled league. I think once they settle in and their 4 guys are healthy, I think we're going to start to see the exact same thing that we've always seen.
Last night was just one of those weird deals. They had all 4 of their guys. Toronto didn't have Kawhi, and Raptors still win by 20 in Oakland. It was just odd. I mean, Toronto.
Well, but I also felt like it was Toronto came out and shot the lights out, and then Golden State wasn't shooting well, and there's just those games in the NBA, man, where they just go like, all right, well, we don't got it tonight, and they just kind of shut it down.
Toronto's really good. I mean, they're on. I'm doing the math on it real quick to see what the pace is. They're on pace to win 63 games. That's elite by any NBA standard. I mean, they're really, really good.
All right, guys. I'm out of here.
All right. Talk soon, bud. Thanks.
The Oxford Exxon podcast is also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust, based in Madison, Mississippi, represents clients in 24 states, has advisors in 3 states. It was founded in 1997, and Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions made using objective information and research, not emotions. Regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan. Cookie-cutter financial planners don't do that. They put you in a box. Pinnacle Trust builds a box just for you. To learn more about Pinnacle Trust, go to pintrust.com. That's PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast, and you'll get 10% off your first year's fee. Podcast also brought to you by the Westin Jackson. Restore serenity to your soul. Visit Soul Spa. It's the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. Indulge in personalized massages, signature facials, soothing body treatments, and much more on their extensive spa list. Escape from the everyday and rejuvenate yourself in their luxury spa today, and then visit Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro. It's a creative sip on a creative craft cocktail or enjoy their curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Chef Caden's mission is to connect guests with the community through local partnerships, so gather at Estelle tonight. Podcast also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you've been thinking about that golf trip with the guys or that anniversary trip with her, the trip to Florida, the Caribbean, get in touch with John. He's a part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows John to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. If you're thinking about going with the boys to Pebble Beach, taking her to Napa for the vacation of her dreams, call John, give him some parameters and a budget, and let him give you some options. Know this, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. Call 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. And we're brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, look no further than Grenada Nissan. They have a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Great lease deals as well. Get in touch with the guys and the girls at Grenada Nissan. Gene and Sandy have been great friends of ours for a long time. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com.
Thanks to Jeffrey there for his time on this Thursday morning. We mentioned Longo. I still haven't actually seen a salary that he's making. I'm expecting it to be somewhere around $500,000, and then that would put Ole Miss on the hook for around $200,000 over the course of the next year. But I haven't seen an official salary for Phil Longo from Chapel Hill to this point.
I haven't either, but that's the same number I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, not a big enough deal to be a thing. So it is what it is.
I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad it worked out for everyone associated with it. As I wrote in the mailbag, there is a Santa Claus. Turns out his name is Mac Brown.
That was kind of cold, frankly, Mr. McCready.
It's a cold time of year.
You went kind of deep in the mailbag this week.
I like the mailbag. It allows me some freedom of expression.
Okay.
I'm at a point in my life where sometimes you just kind of get a little sentimental about things.
Yeah, how do you feel like you're handling this final varsity year for your oldest?
Pretty well. She's ready to go. She's excited. She's ready to go. It's time for a new challenge. It's time for something new. I know that. I've never been that dad that was in denial about your kids growing up and going on with their lives. It's like in fact, I told Laura this the other day. We were talking about stuff, and I've always try to be careful to not say, "Gosh, I hate to see them grow up," because I don't like the way because the alternative to them growing up is really, really, really bad. And I don't mind when people say, "I just wish I wish time would slow down." I get that completely, but it's just part of it. You have to handle it and move on. Now I know that August will be an emotional time. I'm not going to kid myself. I know it will be. It'll be, but then it'll be okay.
Do you get the final summer, or is she going in like June to do some stuff, or what?
No, she's just going to go in August. I know she's got orientation like June the 17th or something like that, and then we'll move her up.
Yeah, you made mention to me that here in a few years, house is going to feel really large as you start pushing more of them out the door.
Yeah, I mean that's what's going to get weird is in 2 years when Caroline's out too, and it's just Carson. I think that's when it's going to be kind of lonely. That house is going to get big fast.
Today's Nakobe Dean's birthday.
I heard that today he's making his announcement known to the team that he's going to, which means that it will leak out at some point today, sort of by process of elimination.
I think that's probably accurate. That's typically what happens in those situations.
Well, because let's take LSU. Let's take LSU. LSU reporters who have sources on that staff at some point today are going to be, "Did you get a call from Nakobe?" And their answer is going to be, "Nah, he didn't call us. It's not us." Okay, it's one down.
Down to 3 or whatever.
Yeah, and then, you make that call to, Georgia, and somebody at Georgia goes, "I can't say anything."
Oh.
And then you call the guy at Ole Miss, and they say either "I can't say anything" or "Nah, it's not us." Whatever. Same with Alabama. Somebody at Alabama will say, "Yeah, I can't really comment on it," or "It's not us." And you figure it out. And someone will figure it out today. Because there's people connected to all of those staffs. Obviously people that do really good work.
I did really enjoy the last day or so, everybody discussing the 8-team playoff or whatever, and then how the championship game should go. And not Ole Miss, the SEC made it very clear where they felt about losing their championship game. Not no, but no. On this one. No, we're good. We're gonna keep making millions of dollars the first Saturday in December. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, it's so profitable.
You guys do what you want to do. That's fine. Don't care. Fine. Whatever.
It's so profitable that there's no way they're moving away from it.
It's the only championship game that matters, but by gosh, it matters from a money standpoint. It's true.
Yeah, it's always full.
Always.
It would be one thing if you played it and there's 35,000 people in that stadium, but it's full and it's packed and it's a fun environment. I've covered it, not at that arena, but I've covered it at the Georgia Dome, and it's a fun environment. And they're going to keep playing it. CBS is going to put that puppy at 3 p.m, and they're going to play it.
Yeah, any way that an 8-team or 16 playoff happens, it's going to have to be around the SEC championship game. Bottom line.
Yeah, I'm an advocate for an 8-team playoff. I have been for a long time.
Yeah, I like 6, but good enough.
But I'll also freely admit that it's rarely really mattered. I don't know that there's ever been that opportunity for someone to be able to say, "Man, we got screwed." That hasn't really happened yet.
Well, because with 4, there's going to be a wart there. Now, you probably at number 4 have the same wart as the other guys too. I understand that. But you still have a wart. You're not Auburn 04 where you go, "What the crap?"
Yeah, I mean, we've yet to have the deal where there's a team from a Power 5 league unbeaten and left out.
Because Auburn would have beaten Oklahoma, and then they would have played USC the championship game.
Yeah.
Had it been 04.
Yes.
USC would have beaten the crap out of whoever was number 4, Virginia Tech or whoever it was. And then Auburn would have beaten Oklahoma, and they'd have played.
Auburn's the only team, to my knowledge, undefeated from a Power 5 team, Power 5 league that did not get an opportunity to play.
So if there were an 18 playoff this year, Alabama would play, I think they want to do the quarterfinal games at home. So Alabama would host Central Florida. Clemson would host Michigan. Notre Dame would host Ohio State. And Oklahoma would play Georgia.
It get huge ratings. It would get huge ratings. It really would.
But 5, 6, 7, 8, none of them can go, oh, we got screwed.
No. In my opinion, no team this year, even Ohio State at 5, can say we got screwed. You went to Purdue and got blown out. You got blown out by Purdue.
Who lost to Eastern Michigan.
Yeah. It's why we all talk about.
Yeah, Georgia, don't let LSU drag you up and down the field.
Yeah, it's like we all talk about. Had Ole Miss in the Arkansas game, that 4th and 25, had they won that game and went on to win the league, had Ole Miss gotten left out of the playoff, yes, there would have been much gnashing of teeth, and I probably wouldn't be in this job anymore because I would have been the guy that said, look, I think they probably deserve to be in, but they got skull-drugged at Memphis. They did. And there's no getting away from that. And so it would have been very easy to say they don't belong in. And someone would have said, well, they beat Alabama and they won the conference. And I'd say it's a valid point. And I think you're right. But that Memphis game happened.
Yeah.
And that's why Ohio State didn't get in this year. They got whacked in Purdue. They did. It happened. Everyone saw it because everybody was excited for Tyler Trent that night. But from a football standpoint, it was an inexcusable loss. So until a 12-0 Power 5 team gets left out, I don't think the system's changing. I know there's some momentum towards an 8 team, but that momentum includes taking out conference championships, and the SEC is going to say, hell no. We're playing our game.
Yeah, they've already said it. They're in.
Yeah, they're not changing it because they're going to get.
It's going to end up either the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th most watched college football game of the season.
I mean, if I told you right now that next year's SEC championship game is 12-0 Alabama versus 12-0 Georgia, you're not surprised and you are watching. Yeah. Even though both teams would make the playoff, you're watching.
Yeah, you're in.
Because it's football in December. What else the hell are you going to watch? You're going to watch.
And of the games that day, you're picking that one.
Yeah. You're watching that one. You might turn on the Big Ten game later that night, or you might not. You'll watch that one, and it will be full.
Yeah, I was making sure they don't play in the regular season. They don't. Alabama plays South Carolina as their other East team next year.
And if it's not Alabama, Georgia, it means that somebody from the West or the East had some magical season, and those people won't be able to get enough tickets. Can you imagine the year that Ole Miss finally gets to the SEC championship game? It'll be the perfect week to go rob stores in Oxford, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, there won't be a damn soul in Oxford.
Alabama gets one of those convenient bye weeks before LSU next year again.
Does LSU get one too?
I don't know. I don't have their schedule in front of me. Well, hold on. I'll tell you.
I think LSU gets one too.
Do they really? Yeah, they do. They're both off. Yeah. Pretty good meat grinder for LSU, honestly, when they get this thing. They will have just got done with Florida, Mississippi State, and Auburn in a row before Alabama. Ole Miss gets LSU next year, the week after Alabama. So, and then they have Arkansas at A&M to finish. But nonetheless, I'm going to make a post on the message board about, I guess, potential offensive coordinator candidate. I'll do that in a minute. I don't know what to call it yet, but it's potentially minimal, but still hearing a name, I need to get out there. So check rebelgrove.com about that. We got plenty of recruiting. We are leading up to signing day. If there's any Nakobe Dean's news, we'll have that as well. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate all the people that help with Tuesday night. Neil's going to get on the road. We're going to have another Greatest Pod in the South this week as well. So a lot going on with the MPW Digital family, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.